Guys, I think I did it.
No way.
I think I just finished my first ever wedding film. You guys want to watch it? Come here.
Let's go.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
It's a video. Yeah.
Welcome back to Wedding Crashers University. Today we're breaking down the top 5 mistakes that you'll want to avoid when you start shooting weddings. These are mistakes that we've made so that way you don't have to. Before we start, everyone makes mistakes. They are bound to happen and are just a part of the journey of becoming an excellent filmmaker. They will ultimately help your films improve over time. Use every mistake as a lesson, and if it happens, try to figure out how to correct it for next time. Number 1, overexposing your shot. On the wedding day, our minds are always focused on dialing in our settings to make sure we have the correct exposure, shutter speed, etc. Oftentimes, you're dealing with situations in which there's a great deal of contrast. For example, during prep, you might put your subject in front of a window and be tempted to expose your shot for the interior of the building while overexposing the setting outside the window. But don't be afraid to lean into that contrast. Oftentimes, that more contrasty look gives the film a moodier, more cinematic feel. Leaning into a shadowy feel and exposing for your highlights can also help hide some things in your shot that might be unfavorable to shoot, such as vents, doors, fire alarms, etc. Another situation in which it's easy to accidentally overexpose a shot is during the ceremony, specifically outside with an unmanned camera. All too often, I found myself exposing for a ceremony while the setting might be under cloud cover or slightly shaded, only to find later that the clouds had moved and my shot was blown out. Although we tend to avoid this during any other part of the day, turning on auto exposure on your unmanned camera could just save you from ever running into this problem. Many cameras have a setting under their auto exposure called shutter priority. This will allow your camera to adjust its aperture automatically to ensure your shot is always properly exposed. Number 2, setting your audio gain too high. This is a common mistake that is made typically during reception, in which you set your gain on your audio recorder too high for speeches or dances. This can be a really easy mistake to make. Often I find myself tapping into a DJ's audio system before things really get started at the reception, usually as some light background music is playing. In order to avoid this, have your DJ or audio provider run a quick mic check. Another great backup option is to set up 2-track recording on your audio recorder so it records another track simultaneously at 6 to 12 decibels lower than what it's set to on your main track. Recording the second track may seem redundant, but it is a great habit to get into in case the DJ messes with settings and turns up someone's mic during speeches. Number 3, not knowing your camera's recording limit. Before the big day, it is so important that you know your camera's recording limit. Every wedding is different. The timeline set for ceremonies can range from 10 minutes to almost 2 hours, while speeches at times can last over an hour. It's good to be prepared for this sort of thing. One aspect of shooting a longer event that is often overlooked is a camera's recording limit. Some cameras don't have a recording limit, so you can press record and let that baby run for as long as you need. But other cameras can only shoot up to 30 or even 15 minutes before the recording automatically ends. Be aware of this. Make sure you understand how your camera works in this regard and how your settings might affect your recording limit. Number 4, forgetting to switch your frame rate. For most of the wedding day, we like to record things in 60 frames per second. This gives ourselves the option of using slow motion in the highlight film, but there are a few instances in which it makes more sense to record scenes in 24 frames per second. Sometimes it's difficult for your editing program to sync clips that are shot in different frame rates. So make sure that when you're recording sections of the day that require a multicam edit, all of your cameras, with the exception of the gimbal cam, are recording in the same frame rate. Number 5, not setting aside time for key moments. On a wedding day, things move fast. You never truly understand how quickly important events fly by until you're there. Sometimes you'll be hustling through the day only to realize that you didn't leave yourself enough time to set up to capture some of the key aspects of the day. How can you prevent this? Preparation. Always be aware and review the schedule before your shoot. We like to set aside approximately 5 minutes to prep for the first look, 20 minutes to prep for the ceremony, and 30 minutes to set up everything needed for the reception. Keep in mind, in addition to your cameras, you'll likely have to set up audio and maybe even lighting equipment before things get going. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time to prepare for these key moments of the day. It's important not to underestimate the amount of time it takes to set up all of your equipment, especially in locations that you might not be too familiar with. With that said, that is a wrap on today's episode of Wedding Crashers University. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will say, do not be afraid to make mistakes because it happens to everyone. And honestly, you're gonna learn so much more by failure. The only L's we take are lessons. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep making some amazing films. We'll see you next week on Wedding Crashers University. Class is dismissed.